Hi everyone, my name is Barkha Dutt and welcome this afternoon to We the Women and to our special series Conversations for Change. Every week I bring you a new voice. She could be somebody famous or she could be somebody whom you haven't heard of but is extraordinary in her own way. We also have many men who have been part of this conversation as we explore the boundaries and the fluidity of sexuality, of gender politics, and of an ever changing world. Today, I'm very pleased to welcome on our program today Tahira Kashyap Khurana. Tahira is a filmmaker, a writer, a cancer survivor, a woman of many parts. But the reason that she really got my attention this week, and she has my attention quite often, but this week the reason that she has my attention is because of her open letter, a passionate letter that she shared on her Instagram feed calling out patriarchy. We've heard a lot of this word in our headlines, but it's almost always got centered around politics and personalities. What we haven't been speaking about is the casual sexism, so casual that we barely notice it, and when we notice it, we accept it quietly. So welcome, Tahira. It's a pleasure to have you on. And remember, if you have questions or comments, as you tune into this conversation on We the Women, a very special forum for me personally that had to go offline in the age of the coronavirus, I will try and pick up the best questions and put them to Tahira. Tahira, I read your letter. I loved it. I loved, in particular, the example of the aloo tikki, because as a fellow Punjabi woman, firstly, I could just visualize the scene. I could visualize the aloo tikkis. I could visualize that well-meaning relative who wanted you to feed your husband, thoda aur khila do, and what it made you feel. So can you just set out the scene for us, that aloo tikki moment?
Well, it was a typical nice Punjabi get together that you have. You have your aloo tikkis and jalebis and everything doing the rounds. And the first thing that got everybody's attention was that I call him my skinnier half because literally he's half my size. So my skinnier half also decided to.
And I just, sorry to interrupt you. I just want to say that we're talking about Ayushmann Khurana, but I didn't mention him because you're here as you and you're not here as his wife. Please go ahead. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for respecting that. So, yes, so he decided to sort of help like it should be. And there's no point giving credit to a man who serves or sort of condemn a woman who doesn't. I don't understand that. But the eyebrows were already raised since he was serving around. And then seeing his size, this auntie, she couldn't control for the longest time. And she was like, you should feed him more greens and you should feed him more food. And that got me really pissed. And in my open letter, I sort of had an analogy to, if at all you have to feed, you can feed greens to a cow. And actually, this cow comes to a house every Monday. Her name is Jyoti. That still makes sense. But a capable man is should be serving himself, if at all other people as well. And it's a life skill. It's a skill set which should be irrespective of any gender. And there are many such instances that you sort of experience on a daily basis. But I chose to sort of write about it because there is enough of the patriarchy debate. And at times, what happens is a lot of things pile up, and then it's your sabra ka band sort of breaks, and the things that you ignore on a regular basis. I feel we should have I include you also in this. We are at a place of privilege and position.
Of
At least
course.
we should be having zero tolerance towards the smallest of the remarks or any snide remark being passed. I have lots of incidents to quote, but you go on if there's anything else you want to ask.
No, so at this moment when you're asked to kind of serve your husband aloo tikki, and you say that you have this urge to respond angrily, but you don't. But there are many other moments when you haven't been able to hold back your anger. For example, the moment when all of you go looking for a new house in
Yes.
Panchkula, and the assumption made is that it will be the Khurana bahus who will be cooking in the kitchen. So lay that out for us.
Yeah. So no, again, it was another incident which just happened in this. I think the universe was conspiring for me to write this letter because everything was happening in this week's time. So we happened to have this meeting, and there was my brother-in-law, sister-in-law, my husband, and me. We were all huddled up, and we sort of discussing the plans of the house. And this person goes on to say, this, let's have a service kitchen for the Khurana Bahus if at all they want to cook up something. And that's the time when I think I didn't have a pleasant expression on my face. And I think my husband did nudge me at that time, but I ignored it. And the man knew that he said something wrong, and the best way to retaliate is probably not by anger but by saying कि आप बोलो तो अभी चले जाती हूँ मैं किचन, मुझे यहाँ पर क्यों बिठाया है, मैं प्लान्स में क्यों हूँ, आप मुझसे पूछे क्यों रहे हो, अभी आके जाके चाय बना के ले आती हूँ. So it's, see, I have heard and read a lot of comments saying that what's the harm in sort of serving a couple of greens or vegetables or doing that part. I don't need to prove a point to anyone as to how many the number of times I've cooked a meal for my husband or for my kids. But to have this expectation is what I have a problem with. The stereotype which is becoming is a problem. And the man who had said this in all humility is a nice guy. I mean, you don't have to be a bad person. You don't have to be somebody who sort of catcalls, or you can be a nice person. But the thing is, sexism has gone so much into the DNA of our being that right now we are naturally aligned towards so tolerating sexist comments or things around us. So I feel now is a time that we need to break this, the conditioning that is there within us. We need to, even if it at the cost of not entertaining such things. I mean, say I could have just been just have ignored it, but I chose not to. I want to tell you another fun incident which happened in the lawns this time.
Yeah.
So again, my mother and her group of friends are having a cup of tea. And then, in Chandigarh, we have, about the North region and about the Geri Road. It's something that I've talked about in my book as well. For all those who don't know, Geri culture is where a boy sort of gets onto his bike or car and with loud music, you sort of following the women, and the girls also probably they like it or they're not. Some people don't like it, but yet it's a culture. So I was just talking to them and I was telling them, there's something which is drastically wrong with this, the stalking sort of concept we have been entertaining for so many years. It needs to be called off. Yeah. And this this lady says, le, in proper chaste Punjabi.
Say the Punjabi. Say the Punjabi. Say it in Punjabi for us.
No, I'll say it for somebody else.
Please do.
She's like, "Yeah, तो कुछ भी नहीं है. ਅਸੀਂ ਉਹ same ਸੜਕਾਂ ਤੇ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਸੀ ਤੇ ਅੱਗੋਂ there was a person he gave. I'll switch because everybody will not know. So they were two people on a bike. They came. We were just walking down on the same road. So this Gedi route culture is, and there were two people on the bike, and they came and they stopped, and we thought they stopped to ask for some directions. But the guy had the audacity to squeeze the breast of one of the aunts and just go away. And she just laughed about it. And I was shocked out of my life. I was like, how is this entertained? How is this accepted? And I feel this has become a defense mechanism for a whole lot of women to sort of laugh it off. But the sad part is there is nothing funny in getting your breasts or your bum squeezed. Of course. And if at all, you can't make a light of the situation. So again, I feel these are small things, and there have been a lot of defense mechanisms which women have been using for quite some time, and it's onto us to sort of call out and not sit on it and have absolute zero tolerance towards it.
I'm so glad that you brought up the Gedi route, as it were, of Chandigarh, because there's been entire songs, and those songs have been songs that I have danced to. I have had fun with those songs. Lamborghini is one of those songs. It's set to the Gedi route. We've all danced to it, and it's like even as feminists, we don't even notice the kind of casual sexism at the heart of it.
Absolutely. A lot of songs, and I don't know why are our songs sort of focused on manu aa dila de, manu o dila de. Kyun bhai? Like why are the women always in need of things? I don't understand. Like, manu bangla dila de, manu gaddi dila de, manu suit dwa de, manu jutti dwa de. Why am I not capable enough to buy a pair of slippers for myself? But as much as we have grooved and danced to these songs, the people who can understand the lyrics, I think it's about time that you take notice of it and how you and me are discussing about it. We need to tell them, because I think the makers themselves, they don't know whether they're doing something wrong or not. Like I said, it's the sort of conditioning is so much there that we don't even, the lines are so blurred that we don't even know what is talking and what is just appreciating if a woman says no. So
But
I'm glad they, yeah.
But no, I was
Sorry.
just going to say that cinema has played its part in it. And I ask you this because you're a filmmaker. And, there was this time when you would see these songs picturized with a man chasing a woman, singing a song. The woman would be kind of saying no, but actually her no was not really a no. It was a more flirty no. Cinemas has had to also change in the way it presents this, because actually it was romanticizing stalking, which is exactly how all the songs around the Gedi route have been romanticized.
Absolutely. I have faced a whole lot of, so every time such movies are made, they need to know that the people in real life have suffered, because somehow our generation, of course, it has Hindi cinema, or cinema as such, Indian cinema has a huge role to play in the sort of perceptions that we have, and the sort of ideologies that we always look up to these movies. And sadly enough, this part of stalking has really crept into our system. And I'm talking about 10 years back when I was in college. And it's a part of my chapters for my book as well. But I'm going to give you a little sneak peek where every day of our lives, me and my friends, we used to devise plans कि अब हम इस route से जाएंगे, अब हम इस route से जाएंगे. It was almost like a surgical strike जो हम organize कर रहे हैं after our tuitions,
Right,
because we
right.
would be followed by a beway of bikers,
Right.
and it was scary. I was not happy that there's so many people who want to. There were strangers who would know my address, who could do anything. It is not. So I think ये सब glorify जो कर रहे हैं हम cinema पे, we as responsible filmmakers, we need to, even if you want to depict something, at least let's not glorify it, because glorification leads to a whole lot of ramifications that we are not very happy about. So yeah,
absolutely. So we're getting a lot of comments, Tahira, but so far it's all about how your Instagram post really resonated with so many women. We can see some of them on your screen. Sonam Anand is saying, Tahira, you're a wonderful person and inspiration for any person, especially someone suffering from deadly illness. They're, of course, talking about your battle against cancer, and we'll talk a little bit about that as we go along, and how it impacted your sense of self, especially as a woman, the whole pressure to look beautiful all the time, put together all the time. I do have questions about that also. We have Mitwa. Mitwa is saying you're actually speaking the heart of all women in India. Sonam Anand says that we should actually start re-looking at some of these Saas Bahu jokes. Even those are problematic. You want to come in on that, on Sonam's comment?
Absolutely. It's a stereotype that we have created कि सास तो बस कुकर और रसोड़े की बात करेगी और बहू ने टिक्का लगा के वही करना. I don't see that happening, and that's not, again, these stereotypes, we should not glorify them. And also these are all sexist. See, if it was a society where there was equality, and that's when you make light of a situation, or you have some jokes to crack, that's still probably accepted. But where it's a lopsided society, where a certain section is already marginalized, and your humor is driving them again towards a corner, I feel we really need to be mindful of the kind of jokes that we are cracking as well. I myself, honestly speaking, there are a lot of stereotypes that you try to break, and I'm a fun-loving person. And like my open letter, I like to drive home things in a very light manner. But in my years of working in a corporate world or in my teaching world, I'm sure a lot of students must be listening or hearing. I was this very no-nonsense woman who would just walk straight into the class and deliver my lecture and then just go out, because I was always scared that my character, there could be character assassination if I just try to, I explore my witty side. People should not think that I'm some
loose,
character.
I'm a loose woman.
Loose. I didn't want to use the word, but yes, but that's what it is. And somehow men, when they are smart and they're witty, that's really cool. But if women, they're smart and they're witty, they're loose, or they are, I don't know. And and especially women who talk, I think in today's time, if you are a woman, it takes courage to just be a woman. And if you have an opinion, then you are some superhero. And if you express that, then you're a goner. Then you are ripped apart. So I feel we have to really work towards our tolerance level and the compassion bit of it.
So I have a question. I've taken it on screen. This is from Asha Pillai. She says, in Kerala, where I grew up, if you were eve teased, and I'm putting that in quotes because I hate the phrase, you are not expected to respond. If you respond, it's the woman who will be blamed. Anyone using public transport is fair game. And we in our bubbles do not realize that this is much worse than a mere nuisance factor. It's a step away from seriously violent crimes. And exactly, Barkha and Tahira, movie makers should be more responsible. Now, I want you to talk about this culture of endurance that is expected from women. And you write about this in your open letter.
Yeah.
And you say, you talk about your own experience of being groped when you were very young. We've all gone through that
Yes.
experience. You say before you hit
Yes.
puberty, you were bottom pinched. We've all been pawed and groped in public transport. And that expectation somehow that if you're tough, you're going to keep quiet. Like somehow this is some version of boot camp or rites of passage. And if you speak, you will be blamed. So please do respond to what Asha has said.
I want to tell Asha that just like you, it's not just Kerala. I think it's pan India. I have experienced the same thing while being in Chandigarh. The times that we were stopped, me and my friends, we were scared to tell our parents because we thought that, what if we tell our parents, they'll probably take us out of the tuitions. We will not be our right to education, or I wanted to prepare. And forget about right to education as well, of course, but I wanted to live a normal teenage life of stepping out of my house in the evenings. And there were so many times that I wanted to bring things to my parents, and so did my friends, but we refrained from doing so because society wouldn't have allowed us. They would have told us to stay put in your homes, but that's absolutely wrong. And this is the fact that we are having this, we have come a long way over the past many generations, but we still have a very long way to go. And when it comes to cinema and filmmakers, I again want to, I think when you have more representation of women making films, I think that will also make a difference. As of now, in 2017 alone, out of the 200 films made in Tamil industry, only 2 were made by women. And again, the Hindi film industry, out of the 200 odd films, there were only 10 filmmakers. So from 2016 to 2019, out of the 566 films that were made, only 6.2% were made by female directors. I feel when this representation increases, there are more stories that need to come across, more stories that will inspire us. So again, it's about stepping out and stepping up.
So, talk a little bit about your own experience as a very young girl, having to get used to being pawed and groped in public spaces and sometimes even within circles of trust. Almost every girl I know has faced some form of abuse and harassment at the hand of a relative, at the hand of a family friend, felt that she can't speak up. In fact, official government data tells you that more than 90% of women and girls who are abused sexually in this country know the man. They know the man. So while we talk a lot about public spaces and public safety, and all of that is very important, often the perpetrator is in our circle of trust. So I want you to open up about that and how, as women, we find it so difficult because we're always protecting the reputation of our family, the reputation of our friends, and that burden falls on us. Too close to the bone? Too close to the bone?
Yes.
I'm sorry.
It is. Not at all. Not at all. I think it needs to be talked about. It needs to be, and I think I fall into that data which says that so many percentage of women are abused by the people that they know of from the circle of trust, and so was I.
I didn't mean to make you uncomfortable, but if it helps you to
No,
know,
no,
so
it's
so
just
was I.
it's just
So was
too
I.
overwhelming. It's overwhelming, and the security of female child is very important,
Yeah.
and we must do everything in our efforts to have an open communication, a channel where girls don't feel guilty, they don't feel pressurized, they don't feel as if they have called it upon themselves. And the day it happens, the kind of communication that you have with your parents or with the society, it should be so open that you can come out with it without feeling an iota of guilt, because you're not the perpetrator out here. I'm
I'm so
sorry.
sorry. I've obviously upset you. I'm so sorry.
No, not at all, not at all. It's something that I'm glad we are talking about it, because I don't want it to happen to anyone. Nobody should be experiencing this, because you keep it in your heart for the longest time. And I opened up to my family after my first child. My
That's
husband was
great.
the first person who came to know, and I would have probably died with this. Would have gone into the grave with this huge thing on my chest. But I told my husband right after I had my first child, and it was a heavy load off my chest. And I just, and I've told my folks, and everybody was devastated to know it, because nobody is expected it, and nobody is. You can't point fingers at anybody, but our society, but
Yeah.
our mindsets that we have. I
How
have
old
no
were
one to
you?
blame in my
How,
family.
how old were you when it happened?
I was I was a kid. I
Yeah.
was a kid.
So one, I want to say sorry if I've upset you,
Not at all.
but I'll tell you that when I had to experience child sexual abuse, I was less than 10 years old, and in my case, the perpetrator was a relative who was living in a house, and I used to trust him completely, and I used to go and play in his room. He used to take me for piggyback rides, and I didn't even understand what was happening. And when I
Right.
first started feeling the trauma, I felt guilt, I felt dirty, like
Yes.
it was my fault. And I finally did tell my mother right away, who threw this guy out of the house. He was a distant relative of some kind, but I know that it scarred me for life, and it impacted
Yes.
me in ways that I probably still haven't fully understood. And there's a smell. I wrote about this in my book, that there's a smell to child sexual abuse in my case, that every time I smell a certain kind of hair oil, I remember that. So everyone has different triggers. So I'm just sharing the
Yes.
story. I don't want you to feel that I'm putting you on the spot. So say
No,
as much,
I am so sorry that you
say,
had to experience this too, but it's so
say,
sad that two women who are just talking experienced it in their own lives. And imagine the percentage of women that must be out there. It's
yeah.
quite shocking, bizarre, and sad.
And that you couldn't talk about it when you were young. What was that?
Yes.
Where did
I
that come
think,
from?
honestly speaking, I come from a very progressive household, and probably had I told my parents back then, things wouldn't have been the way it was. But I'm just telling you that a child in a family is just not living under the umbrella of their parents. A child also understands discrimination. A child also understands that this is expected of me, even if you are as young as 10-year-old. I'm sure as a 10-year-old girl, you would know that this is expected of me and this is not expected of me. The role that society has to play, the kind of glorification of Sati Savitri, of a character, of a woman, you just feel that has been impeached, right? Like, so there's a whole lot of like, it's social, cultural, media. There's a huge role of every all these environmental factors that play into what a child thinks. And for
Yeah.
me at that time, I thought that this is something wrong that I have done.
Yeah.
And that's what I thought for the longest time. I have called it upon myself, and I don't know how a 10 or a 12 or an 8-year-old can call upon it themselves. But
Exactly.
that's what I thought in my yeah. That's what I thought about it. And so when I grew up and when I came to know about things, I realized that this is not my fault at all. And if at all, at least my family deserves to know that there's this person who caused this harm to me, not just physically but mentally. It stayed for me for the longest time.
Yeah.
And I wanted it out of my system, and I got it out of my system, and I'm so and I also know of somebody else in the family who sort of experienced it, but had to say that please don't tell it to anybody else because my husband might leave me. And I
Wow.
have been yes, so I have been really blessed enough to have and I don't know why do we call this support, but it is
Yeah.
support. For as long as there's no equality, you will call it support from my family and my husband. But there are a lot of women who have not been able to come out of it, and I know how it feels to have this thing inside of your chest and
Yeah.
heart. It feels
And,
like
and and obviously this was a
hundreds and
person,
kilos of weight.
and obviously it was a person you really trusted. That's what happens to children.
Yes. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. So I feel, and I'm glad we're talking about it, because if at all it has happened to somebody, at least they can get it out of the system and talk it out to their folks.
Yeah.
Ideally, it should be the police that should know. But
Yeah.
if that's not the situation, at least you should come out of it, because
I,
you're not.
I, I,
Uh,
I,
yeah.
I always tell women that even if you're not ready to take legal action, tell one person, because one day you might want to take legal action and there should be a statement of record. Tell one person for your own sanity, tell one person for your own emotional and mental wellness. Sapna Gaur has heard your story, Tahira, and thank you. I know what courage it takes to speak about this. Just saying, don't cry, Tahira, you're a fighter, you're a courageous lion.
This is so
Uh,
embarrassing. I didn't want to cry.
it's okay. You
I
you
didn't
are
want to.
you will always
But yeah,
win, and thank you for sharing your story.
thank you.
So tell me this. Moving on from this, this book that you're going to write. I'll come back. I'll come back to some of the examples of patriarchy that you've given. The 12 commandments that all women must know. You're writing this for Juggernaut. What's this about? Because obviously the title is tongue in cheek. It's ironic. You're resisting commandments. You're resisting patriarchal commandments. Are we thinking of replacing them with an alternative set of commandments?
Yeah. So absolutely, I think it's about time we have our own set of commandments and we sort of have our own rules. And to begin with, so I've in this book I have tried to sort of in my own experience of every phase of my life as a woman, from a girl to a teenager, to all the complexes and all the idiosyncrasies that we have. We too have funny stories, and we too have funny notions about ourselves, about our breasts, and about our periods, and all of that.
Yeah.
So I've written about that, and I'll probably talk about more about it when we are closer to the date of publishing. There's a
Sure.
lot of things that I
Sure.
want to talk about,
Sure.
but it's something, what I can say is something very close to my heart. It's something that a lot of women will be able to relate to, and the men might just be intrigued. So they should also read it.
So we look forward to it. But talking about women and self-image and body types, in your letter you talk about female trainers, female sort of fitness trainers and male fitness trainers, and how though you think the women who are combating all manners of biology, PCOD, thyroids, hormones, menopause, you have found fitter, more sincere, more committed. The guys develop some layers of fat, but they're the ones who are sought after. So even in these spaces, you see a kind of casual
Yes.
sexism. So talk about
It
that.
is. It is. And, this is something that I honestly hadn't heard and hadn't read. Very honestly, it was just my observation. And I realized that actually 80 to 90% of the men are fat or obese, and they were one time glorious. But women, they have to keep proving themselves time and over again. And yes, a lot of us have the PCOS issues. We have thyroid issues. The multiple issues, or you would have had multiple cesareans. But the expectations is for you to have a decent clientele. Uh, is to be absolutely fit, and this is what I experienced with my trainer too. And she has a daughter back home in Bombay, and I asked her, I had sort of shook hands with her, and she had all those calluses, and they were all green. And I was like, how much do you train? She was like, I have to be up my game. I can't take it low at all. And I have seen this sort of a discrimination or sexism in every industry, honestly speaking, whether it's health, whether
Yeah.
it's corporate, teaching, any line. So much so that we also saw this very popular incident between Serena and Novak Djokovic, where the same newspaper had a sort of a different headline for her behavior and for his behavior, where she
Oh,
was. It was unleashing some aggressive rant, and for him it was just disqualified. So there are
yeah.
a lot of I think it's in every sphere of our society, and the more we talk about it, the more we can at least start observing it and not just sort of letting it seep into to our being. So
Yeah,
yeah.
ambition and aggression and hysteria are phrases that are used only for women. The same behavior from men earns them compliments. Okay, Sonam Anand has a question on how you battled cancer, and I want to actually dovetail a question about sexism into that, because there was your personal courage. I've spoken to you about it before, but what happens to self-image, because women are battling self-image of how you look, what your body type is, what your hair is, at all times in our lives. Even us enlightened women are constantly shrugging this off, right? And I remember those photographs of yours where you went completely bald, you'd lost your hair because of chemotherapy. But I just want an inside glimpse into not just the battle against cancer, but as a woman fighting sexism and pressures of the beauty burden at that time.
Sorry, what was the last part?
The beauty burden, the burden of beauty on women.
Oh yes, absolutely. I think it's something. There are exterior forces and stimuli, and then there's this internal one. I think more or less the fight is internal, and how it only becomes internal once you see perfect things thrown at you, whether it's a magazine cover, whether it's a perfectly immaculately and dressed news anchor too. So
Yeah, yes.
you see,
Oh yeah. Oh
you
yes.
see everywhere, you see beauty being at a pedestal, and
Yeah.
then you feel that this is what you need to sort of, this is the mold that you need to fit into. And of course all of us cannot fit into that mold, it's not possible. And those of us who do not fit into that mold, we go into having deep complexes about ourselves. And trust me, when I was two sizes lesser than what I am right now, and when I had waist long hair, I had 100 times more complexes than what I have right now. But it was a battle that I fought, and I chose to let go of these. I think the thing is, the power is within us. We need to realize that we are the most powerful entities. Nobody is more powerful than us. So we need to recognize this power that we have and implement it. And I take away this power from anyone who has tried to make me feel low or makes me feel low. I take away that power because I don't encourage that at all.
Was it tough?
That
Was it
power
tough? Was it
completely
tough in the
resides
beginning?
within me.
But was it tough in the
Sorry.
beginning? Was it tough in the beginning?
Of course, I used to stop. I had stopped going out for some evening get-togethers with my husband. This is about 6, 7, 8 years back, and this is again, like I said, when I had waist long hair, the typical stereotypical
Yeah.
notion of trying to be beautiful. I probably was somewhere there, but I had my huge complexes. I would not go. I would sit in the bathroom for hours and hours because I used to get stomach cramps. So I have been there, done that, being at the one end of the spectrum, but I will not casually call it stupid, because
Yeah.
that's taking away from the emotion that a lot of women and a lot of men also feel. I feel
Sure.
needs to be addressed. And the journey from this end of the spectrum to the other end of the spectrum, it's only you can make, and it's not an impossible one.
Okay, we have a very interesting and important next question. This is from Bipasha Banerjee, who says, Hi, Tahira. I am a gender studies student. I'm just curious to know how you define patriarchy, because there's a misconception that patriarchy is only implemented by men, which is not always true. And this is such an important question because while women, we keep saying women for women and women will stand with women, but the point is that women are as much products of patriarchy. And I always say that both misogyny and feminism can be gender neutral. So Bipasha has an
Absolutely,
interesting
absolutely.
question.
No, so Bipasha, I absolutely agree with you. It's just not by men, it's gender neutral. A lot of women are more patriarchal than men all put together. So, in my open letter also, I had suggested and I had come across, it's not my invention, but I found it very, very interesting. So, the proposition that I have, that you have an equation and just replace the word replace the word woman by a man and try to play it out. If it's not funny, because it should not be funny, and trust you me, when you do replace, it is funny. If it's not if it's funny, then of course it's patriarchal. For instance, uh, being a woman, being a man, are you sure you want to head out at night? Are you sure women will not attack you or rape you? Now if it's that funny and that it's not something normal, then obviously that's patriarchy. um, in school we have always read about this left hand side equation to be equal to the right hand side. So even in the society, you need equal rights. And if this equation doesn't fit in, then clearly it's not an equal society. There's patriarchy, because only men are not expected to be hurt at night, or
Yeah,
attacked,
yeah.
whereas women are. So I think that's a fair deal. Just have this equation ready. जहां पर भी लगे कुछ problem है, डाल दो woman की जगह man डाल दो and देखो.
But your letter does make the point, when people crib about feminists who make a lot of noise, and I say, why the hell should we not make a lot of noise? But you say that the best way to test whether a woman or a feminist, a man, is making the right feminist argument is to reverse it. To say, agar ye ulta
Absolutely.
hota, to kya hota, So
बिल्कुल.
it can be something as small as keeping our own names. It can be as small as who does the housework. It can be as small as who's expected to do more of the parenting. And I always say,
Absolutely.
till there's equality at home, there will not be equality at work. and we just completely
Absolutely.
gloss over these things.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I completely agree. I completely agree.
So, interestingly, the next question is from a man, from Gautam Shetty, and I'm going to read it out. I know this is we the women, but men too will relate to the fact that boys have also experienced being groped and molested in public transport. It has happened to boys, and for men, it's even tougher to talk about it, as the society perceives that men will just fight it out on their own. All of us who've gone through this also think that there's something wrong with us. Thank you, Tahira and Barkha. Look forward to your book, Tahira. This is a really, really important point. The fact that, yes, as
Absolutely.
women, we find it difficult, but the burden of patriarchy on men to be tough, to be macho, to not cry, to not talk about their own sexual abuse. Thank you, Gautam, for that question. And Tahira, I leave it to you to respond to it.
Yeah, thank you, Gautam. It's really important. It's very courageous for you to kind of bring it up and talk about it. And I completely feel that this is unreasonable because men do cry and there is nothing wrong in crying. Men do shed tears and there is nothing wrong, and it doesn't make them less of a macho person. You just being human. And the day we stop patronizing it, the day we stop saying that, muscles and are men and women and delicate, you stop putting everybody into molds, the world will become a more peaceful and a compassionate society. And that's what we need to head towards, to have acceptance for everybody, for the emotions that they have, for the people that they are, and how they feel. So you're right when it comes to kids, and if boys who have also been who've experienced it, it's equally important for them to come out in the open. And I really wish we don't judge anybody, whether it's a boy or it's a girl.
So come back to this. Come back to this letter. You said you were feeling jolted. You were looking at the headlines, and you were examining your own life. Are there things that you find that women all around you just accept blindly, and when you don't, they'll say, "Tahira, kya yaar? Why can't it's a choti si baat hai." This notion of the
Of course.
choti si baat. So the aloo tikki was one example. I want you to share other examples.
No, so even in my group, you're right. Whenever I might be saying something, but a friend of mine might not just be very vocal about it, might just not, make a difference to that person. And I have been told कि आगे ये झंडा गाड़ने, मतलब अब तो शुरू हो जाएगी ये, अब तो ये बोलेगी. And I know I have been, and
Yeah,
they are still my friends, and these are still very decent
yeah,
accusations. But if you go online, then a woman who talks about this is either frustrated, or she's old, or she is haggard, or she's not have had sex. Sorry, I'm
yeah.
saying all this because,
No, no, no. Yeah, yeah,
but why am
yeah.
I saying sorry? Because
Yeah.
all this is plastered all over the social media, so I don't think we
Correct.
should have any qualms talking about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, so I feel these are some notions. Again, if a woman speaks and then the man needs to control, the comments are iska ख्याल रख, घर पे रख, बाहर निकल रही है, ज़्यादा बोल रही है. Then you go on to making comments like rape and murder, and being molested is something that both of us have experienced, and
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
crazy. And imagine the extent to which the threats are given online, and more so to do with women. So I feel it's about time that we, like I again said, that we have zero tolerance. And yeah, and I keep telling my mother also to stop having this fixation with her jamai. In Punjabi we say jawai. So she is like, oh no. So, and I'm so glad, the kind of setup that we have, if I'm allowed to say that, it's a very progressive setup. So instead of me, right now, I'm at my parents' house. My kids are in this house. My husband also stays here. He goes to meet his parents. I go to meet his parents. Few days we are there, few days we are here. There is no expectation of me staying at my in-laws' house. And I
Hmm.
really, really, truly appreciate that. And I really wish every woman gets that sort of a, मतलब ये बहुत basic rights हैं यार, मतलब इसके लिए हमें वाव नहीं कहना
Correct.
चाहिए, but लग तो ऐसे ही रहा है कि वाव करना पड़ेगा, because we have to move ahead, we have to progress in life. So my mother, so I think my in-laws probably are more progressive, because my mother keeps saying, बेटा वो की खाएगा, की राती की खाऊगा, what will he eat at night? And I
Yeah.
was like, पूछ लो, you can ask himself, he can talk. He's like, नहीं 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 जवाई है, कितना पूछिए. I was like, just with your mouth, and he'll answer from his mouth. Why do I need to come in between? So, this whole fixation with the son-in-law and all of that is there, and you need to sort of. So I'm working on my parents too. So yeah,
Yeah,
work
no,
in progress.
because it's so entrenched in our culture, right? The vidai at the shadi, the fact that a woman, once she leaves, the husband's family becomes somehow more her family. That in India, you
Right,
don't marry your husband, you marry the
right,
family. The whole
right,
burden on the woman to somehow be responsible for the family, holding the family and its relationships together. And you know,
right.
even when our partners are progressive, our own parents sometimes are not, and I'm not finding fault with anyone's parents. I'm saying these are struggles we've all had in our homes.
Absolutely, absolutely. No, no. So I think the change happens with our generation, because I really don't want, even our parents have honestly giving them their due. They have also come a long way. Even both my set of parents have always been working. My father's always, again, I don't like to use the word encouraged my mother. Like, who is he to allow my mom to work?
Exactly,
But in the
exactly.
typical scenario, yes, my mother has always worked. I've always had working parents, and they are progressive, but a conditioning hoti na, which is, like I said, that it's gone deep into the DNA of a being and it's been passed over from generation. So now is the time to call it out. Don't sit on it, because I don't want, I have a son and I have a daughter, and I can't for the life of me begin to imagine and tell my daughter, okay beta dekhna, my, Virajveer will get more pay than you be okay with that, or he'll
Yeah,
get these privileges, you be okay with that. I No way is that happening. And
yeah.
I really would want the world to change before they become adults, hopefully so by 2030, where we all want that to happen. So yeah, so for that matter, you need to have lots of such conversations on a daily basis, so that by 2030 we do achieve this goal.
So there are two really important things you've said, which nobody calls out. One is this thing, you know, you've been using the word, but you're self-aware enough to know that maybe I shouldn't, which is that women are constantly thanking their partners and their in-laws for allowing,
Absolutely.
for supporting, one. And the other thing is behind every successful man, there is a woman. So there is some romance around women being in the background,
पता
women not
नहीं,
chasing ambition. ये क्या चीज है?
पता नहीं क्या चीज है, बता दो आप मुझे भी क्या चीज है. I am also fed up.
Totally against
This
it.
constant, I agree with you. And in my conversation, guy, you rightly said, every time I said thank you, and then I question myself that why am I saying thank you? At least
Yeah.
our generation, but we need to question, so that the next generation, this bias is also not there. Like, this questioning is also not there. This gratitude and relentless being feeling thankful, or feeling guilty about what certain things just because you're a certain gender. That thing only doesn't come within them. But for that to happen, all of us need to question at least. So I'm giving myself the points for at least questioning
Of
myself.
course, I'm giving
That
you
why is
full
it that
credit
I
for
need
that.
to be, yeah.
Yeah, thank you. How, as a parent, how are you going to bring up your children questioning gender stereotypes in this whole nature versus nurture debate? I am clearly on the side of nurture. कि हम बनाते हैं अपने बच्चों को. You know, you shape what a man and a woman, a boy and a girl think they ought to be. Since you are a parent to a boy and a girl, how are you ensuring that they start early on to questioning stereotypes?
Yep, by just not having any disparity in your mind. I'm telling you, children or all of us can read minds. We thrive on vibes. We thrive on thought, word, action. I mean to say, from the word go, from your thinking, from your thought process, that disparity has to completely go away, and we need to work towards it. And for me, when it comes to parenting, I like to have conversations with my children. I've had a conversation with my son when it comes to homosexuality. That was because the father was doing a film, and I didn't want my children to be bullied, or you never
Yeah,
know what people talk about.
yeah.
I wanted them to be sensitized towards it. So it's, I think, to each his own. Whenever it takes time, whatever you feel is the right time to talk to your children, considering their emotional state and well-being and their maturity. But it's very important to have an open conversation with both boys and girls, not giving the leeway that a boy has an aggressive behavior because, oh, the munda hi hai. He's a
Hmm,
boy, he's
hmm.
expected to behave, have such rowdy behavior, and you're a girl, you have to be dainty.
Yeah.
Please refrain yourself from making such stereotypical observations or comments. A rowdy behavior is a rowdy behavior, irrespective of the gender. So there are these small things that you need to work on. And I'm sure there is some day, by the end of it, we have at least come to where we are. And because of COVID, I think a lot of progression has also reversed. And it's just not about this.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
understand we are talking from the world of privilege.
yeah.
There are other things. There are women who are fighting domestic violence. There is where there is a scarcity of food and ration. The women are the people who get the last and the least to eat. So
Yeah.
I feel we have already pushed, we have already regressed because of this pandemic. Let's not further regress because of our thought process. At least let's be um, have a wide, have our horizons widened and have a broad approach towards life.
I always say that women are so defensive about being selfish, and even this thing of constantly being the caregiver, this eating last, कि एक रोटी है तो पहले बाकी सब खाएंगे. Women are embarrassed,
Absolutely.
apologetic to say I. We always say we. There's a comment from
Yeah.
Mitwa Joshi. Mitwa Joshi says that it's the older generation that she finds is too rigid, बदलते ही नहीं है, too
True.
rigid to change. Do you find a complete generational clash? And I ask you this because sometimes I find it easier to talk to my mother's generation than I do to women younger than myself. I find myself disagreeing on my feminist politics with younger people than with older people. And I want to say women and men because I want men to be part of this feminist conversation. So where do you see the generational fault line, Tahira?
No, I feel, of course, with every generation, there are a whole lot of different things that are brought up and different experiences that lead to some sort of a conditioning. But I feel wherever there is compassion, wherever there is a scope of open dialogue and communication, I feel lots can be changed. Even when it comes to parents or your older generation, you feel they're too rigid, but that's also because they have experienced. Let's not take away from whatever they have
Yeah,
experienced. They're at a situation because of the experiences they have had.
yeah,
But by probably having a good conversation with them and tell them that times have changed. And coming to that, when you said that, why is the woman the last and always always the last and the least to have, least and last to have. I also feel that this. When we keep women at a pedestal, like ये mother nature है, we have
mm,
to protect it. Now you are giving these attributes, like mother nature feminine है और हमें
mm,
protect करना है. So the thing
mm.
comes on to men. So there's always men are the providers, men are the people who are going to protect. I think all these things need to change.
Yeah.
But the change can happen only if we call out. So
I, I,
yeah.
I, I call them chains of gold. You know, this superwoman syndrome where we think we are paying women a compliment, but actually we are just imprisoning them. And you see all these ads where there'll be some perfectly dressed woman, her sari will also be perfectly starched, and she'll be running this boardroom meeting, but she'll find time to make the phone call beach mein to say ki aaj paneer banao ya gobi banao. The expectation is that the woman has to do everything, and we think we're paying the woman
Absolutely.
a compliment, but actually this is imprisoning the woman in an image.
Absolutely, absolutely. These are undue expectations. क्यों करो भाई, नहीं है मेरे 10 हाथ और नहीं मैं कर सकती ये सब कुछ और नहीं करना है. And by the
Yeah,
end of it, I'm a human too, and I'm allowed to commit mistakes
yeah.
and blunders, and that's fine. And why have this undue expectation of me? And I absolutely right. This is the image that is portrayed, that a perfect woman on the go, गाड़ी
Yeah.
में घुसती है, कॉल करती है, साथ में ये सब कुछ होता है. And no, it's about time that we don't want to be multitaskers. We don't want to be put on a pedestal. We just want an equal status, if at all you can give, please.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit. I know you can't say much about the book, and we're all looking forward. Tahira has a book on the 12 Commandments for women coming out soon, in a month from now, and we'll talk to her again then. But tell me personally, what has been for you a struggle? For you, a personal struggle, because sometimes we have to unlearn. We have to unlearn our own conditioning, and we do it every day in all kinds of ways. So, what for you has been the biggest struggle that you still find you're struggling with every day?
Honestly, the words that you used, unlearn, that has been my biggest struggle. There's so many things that you have learned, and not just because of
Yeah.
textbooks or your parents' conditioning. It's just because this is how the society operates. This is what you've seen on media, or you've seen the most popular chicks on the campus. Again, I'm using the word chicks. Sorry, most popular women on the
But,
campus.
but can I hold you there?
Yeah.
Because when I was in college, we used to have a chick chart, and actually it was completely accepted in St. Stephen's College. If you can hear me, there was a chick chart. It used to be called that, and women were judged on the basis of their sexiness or their attractiveness, and all of us never protested against this. And even the
Yeah.
fact that we use the word chick casually now, I'm confused because a lot of women have started embracing slurs and making them our own, right? So it's confusing. It's confusing, and we're struggling with it every day.
Sorry, lost you on the last part.
I'm just saying it's confusing, and we're struggling with it every day. It's confusing, and we're
Yes,
struggling with it every day.
it
Even
is
language.
confusing. At times we are driving and grooving to some song, but then we realize that, अरे ये तो कुछ और ही हो रहा है. And then we call ourselves the Cool Chick Gang or whatever, and then we realize again we're adding to stereo. It's the fact that there is a constant struggle shows that we are acknowledging things which were deep rooted, and we are talking about it.
Yeah,
Perhaps in the next generation they become, at least we know that it is a conflicting situation. By virtue of habit, we are okay with it, but by virtue of awareness, we choose not to be okay with it.
yeah,
So our generation is in the zone where there is conflict, where there we ourselves in a constant struggle. कि यार ये ठीक है कि ये नहीं ठीक है. Like calling a bitch, is it okay or not? What is it? I mean to say, these are things that we need to figure out for ourselves. But the fact is that the I was talking about the college bit. Sorry, I forgot. I've
so
lost track of what I was talking.
I halted you because you said chick, and then I mentioned the chick charts. But I had asked you what has been your own struggle, where you're still struggling to unlearn things,
Oh
and if
yes,
you, yeah,
yes,
so talk
yes.
about it. Yeah.
So yeah. So again, these are the stereotypes that you have, and like I said, for me to, and I'm still unlearning. I'm very honestly being very blatant about it. If I tell you that I've conquered all battles within myself, I'm wrong. As much as I say that I don't care about weight and all of that, I do. I do check my weight on the weighing scale every week. I'm fighting that. I
Okay.
do not want to do that. I want to, as much as I'm in love with myself, I still at times want to fit into a certain dress. I have bought a dress which is one size smaller than me. I want to fit into it. I'm not proud of it, and I'll probably now gift it to somebody. So these are some struggles that you have, and that's with all of us on
Yeah.
a daily basis. It's about which day you're doing well and which day you can just survive.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So I'm so happy that you brought up this thing about the dress, because in coming from the glamour industry, Tahira, and I'm not saying that's all you do. You make films, you're a writer, you're a person of many parts. But this struggle to not have the stereotype of beauty define your sense of self, and being surrounded by people, being married to an actor, and I only mention your marriage in this context because there is a vanity industry. Otherwise, I say again and again, you're here as you. How much pressure has that vanity industry placed on you and your sense of self?
It used to play long back when it didn't matter at all, and perhaps in the secular world it matters now, but it doesn't play on my mind, honestly speaking. It's, again, I said, the power lies within you, and it's up to you where you sort of repose that faith and where you keep that power. I like to keep it to myself because I've realized very late in life that I am the strongest person for my own self. I'm my biggest benefactor. I'm the biggest person who wants the best for myself. And if I am comfortable in a certain way, and if I'm happy with it, I become a potential source of happiness for people all around. Instead of just dwelling in my complexes and being unhappy about things, it's important to let go and be happy with who you are. So there's a lot of self acceptance right now, and it's come because of my practice too, about which I think I've spoken to you before. But everybody has their own philosophies or something that centers them. For me, it has been my practice.
Talk a little bit about the practice, because I know, but a lot of our viewers may not know. So share a little bit about it.
So it's about 4 years back, I got introduced to this beautiful philosophy called Nichiren's Buddhism. And that completely changed my mindset. This philosophy sort of empowered me, told me that I have the power to change my destiny, to change my thoughts. And the reason why I'm born is to be happy, and there's nothing else beyond that. So when I realized that if I'm born to be happy, what am I doing being sad? I have to work towards my happiness each and every day and every moment onwards. And I can only be a potential source of happiness for other people around if I'm at peace and I'm happy for myself and with myself. So I think a lot of things changed because of that. And this is much before my cancer journey. Like, a lot of people take to some philosophy or something post a traumatic experience. But I'm just so glad I was strong in my faith, And because when this thing happened in my life, I know it has not come to take away something. It's come for me to become a better version of myself. That's how I'm thinking. That's how I think, and it's exactly with that intention I'm here at this forum, to add value. Hopefully, I would have added value to somebody's life. You have
Thank
added
you.
value to my life.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. And I think that is our duty, right, as women, to derive strength from others and then to share some of that strength to those who can derive some strength, even as people chart very individual journeys in their lives. Okay, we've got just 5 minutes left. Tahira, I know I thought we'd be talking for half an hour, but we've been almost talking for 1 hour because it just kept going.
Really? It's been an
Yeah,
hour? Oh God.
it's been
Okay.
an hour. Five more minutes.
अब आप चाय पीने आ जाओ. Let's have chai only. I'll
I,
introduce you to all the aunties out
I,
here, and we'll have
I,
samosa and jalebi with them.
as long as the boys are serving the jalebis and the aloo tikkis,
I'll
I'm
make sure. I'll make all hot looking ones.
okay. Talking about the hot looking ones, the assumption, and women worry about this. Women should not worry
Sorry,
about it,
sorry,
but
come again.
I'm saying the assumption women have, and women worry about this, that men do not like strong women, that men are insecure about strong women. So sometimes strong women underplay their strength and their achievements to make men comfortable. Has that
I
happened to you?
agree. I
Happened to you?
agree. Luckily, it has not happened to me in my relationship with just one man. I wish I had many more relationships that I could have talked about. So I dated this guy and I married. But from with him, I have not never felt that. I think women never, they don't need to underplay. They need, if at all somebody needs to work, it's the man. If you know, it's having a strong woman with you doesn't go on to show that you are weak. There is no way it reflects poorly on the relationship or the man. I think it's something that the men need to learn about it. The men need to understand the women are doing just fine. So there's no piece of advice or opinion on this. It's the men who need to work towards it.
I'm glad you said that. A last question. A lot of us have made our own mistakes. We've gone through, lived our lives, looked back and said, I wish I'd done this differently, without regret. But, sometimes there are regrets, sometimes there are not. If I had to ask you what you wish you had known when you were 16 years old, what would that be?
Oh, 16. I would have told a whole lot of things to myself. To begin with, be happy, let go. Eventually, you will come out of it strong. For me, perhaps dealing with a whole lot of things that we spoke about earlier were more painful than my cancer journey. So, so when I was 16, I would have told myself that you are stronger than what you think. You are beautiful, you are perfect, and you're here only to add value and lead a mission oriented life. So don't undermine your capability, your ability, or your existence.
Thank you. That's brilliant. Tahira Kashyap Khurana, it has been a pleasure talking to you. I loved your open letter on patriarchy. I think it resonated with so many women, and I really do look forward to reading your book. It's been a pleasure having you on our Conversations for Change series at We the Women. We will bring you a new guest next week, so do join me then. Thank you, Tahira. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.